So normal types are actually a really good typing to have on a team. So we're going to go through the different normal types that you can find in the Diamond and Pearl remakes. First off is Raptor. This thing is an amazing normal flying type Pokemon. It's got 120 attack, 100 speed. It can outspeed a lot of things and do a lot of damage. It's got a really good move pool. Raptor is actually one of the best normal types that you can have on your team. Next up is Bibral, and this Pokemon is actually mostly known for being used as an HM Mule. And that's because as an in-game Pokemon, it's not really going to add much to your team. 85 attack is its best stat. That's not really going to help you out that much throughout the game. But this thing is a pretty good HM Mule if you still need one. Normal Water type is a cool typing, however, it's not the best Pokemon on an in-game team. Next on the list is Ambi Palm. This thing has a 115 speed, which is really good, and a 100 attack, which is also pretty decent. So this thing could actually come in and hit things decently hard. It could actually help you out in your in-game playthrough. However, its defenses are really low, so it's not going to be living that many hits. But that aside, it can actually add something to your team if you really want it to use an Ambi Palm. Now we're looking at Launny. This Pokemon has a 105 speed, which is a pretty good speed stat, and it actually has surprisingly decent defenses. 84 defense, 96 special defense. That's surprisingly okay. However, 65 HP is not that great, and a 76 attack means you're not going to be doing that much damage with Launny. However, it will outspeed a lot of things, so it would be a challenging Pokemon to put on your team, but I probably wouldn't use it myself. Now we're looking at Ugly, and this thing actually is a very fast Pokemon. 112 speed. That's actually surprising because looking at it, you wouldn't think it's that fast of a Pokemon, but it is a pretty decently speedy Pokemon. 82 attack is okay. It's not going to be the best. Its defenses are on the lower side, so you're not taking that many hits, but this thing does have a pretty good speed stat. So Blissey is actually known as one of the best specially defensive Pokemon. As a 135 special defense, which is really good, but the thing that brings it over the top is that 255 HP stat. That is the highest HP stat of all Pokemon. So this thing can take a lot of special hits. However, on that defense side, it only has a 10 defense, which is terrible. So it's not going to be living any physical hits. It has a 75 special attack, which isn't going to help you out that much. And a 55 speed's actually really slow. So the only thing that Blissey really can do that well is take special hits. It's not putting out a bunch of damage, and it's not outspeeding things. So it would probably be difficult to use as an in-game team Pokemon. But if you need something with a special defense bulk, Blissey can do the job. So looking at Chatot, this is a very gimmicky Pokemon. It's known for its chatter move, which actually gave you the option of changing the sound file for it in Gen 4. However, with that gone, this thing doesn't have much to make it stand out. 92 special attack is decent, 91 speed is pretty good, and that's where it ends for Chatot. It doesn't really do much for an in-game team, and it doesn't take hits at all. So this thing is a pretty difficult Pokemon if you wanted to use it on your team. Looking at another normal flying type Pokemon, it's going to be Noctowl. This is a pretty decently specially bulky Pokemon. 96 special defense and a 100 HP is pretty good. 86 special attack's not the best, and it's not going to be doing that much damage for you. It's not going to be outspeeding a lot of things because it's got a 70 speed, but it can take a few special hits, and that's actually pretty cool. However, in-game team, it's going to be a difficult Pokemon to use. Now we look at Snorlax, and Snorlax is actually one of the best normal types in all of Pokemon. This thing has a 160 HP stat, which is great, plus a 110 special defense, which means it can take a lot of special hits very well. It only has a 65 defense, but with that 160 HP, it can actually live a few physical hits too if need be. A 110 attack means this thing can actually put out a lot of damage. It's got a 30 speed, which is really slow, but this thing does have a lot of things going for it. So if you're really wanting to use a normal type, Snorlax would actually be a really good one on the team. So now we're looking at Giraffrix, and this thing actually has a really unique typing, normal psychic. It only shares that typing with Meloetta. So stats-wise, it's not the best. It's got a 90 special attack, which is okay. 85 speed means it's pretty decent. 80 attack's not doing much on that physical side, but that 90 special attack's probably its best bet. This one would probably be a difficult Pokemon to use based on how low its stats actually are. And I've always thought Giraffrix should probably have higher stats because most of the time you find this Pokemon later in the game anyway. But stats-wise, it's just not that great. Now we look at the Pokemon added into the Platinum deck, starting off with Lickylicky. This thing has a 110 HP stat, which is pretty good. It does have pretty decent bulk as well, with 95 defense and special defense, which means it can actually live some hits pretty well. 85 attack isn't the best, and 80 special attack is not going to help you out much either. 50 speed means this thing's very slow, so this thing probably would be pretty difficult to use on an in-game team, but it can take a lot of hits pretty decently. And that's probably what you want to do with it if you use it competitively, but as an in-game team Pokemon, it's not going to be putting out that much damage. So I don't usually talk about not fully evolved Pokemon, but Porygon II is an exception because it plays so much differently than Porygon Z. This Pokemon is actually pretty well known in competitive circles for being a decently bulky Pokemon and having a lot of different support options. This thing has a 105 special attack, which means you can actually do decent work with that. It's got 85 HP, 90 defense, 95 special defense, which are not the best, but it's enough to give this thing quite a bit of bulk, so it can actually take some hits. Plus, this thing gets access to the move Recover, so that's probably why this thing's mostly known for being a defensively supportive Pokemon. It's got 60 speed, which means in Trick Room, it could actually do quite a bit, and this thing actually does learn Trick Room as well. So I feel like as an in-game team Pokemon, it could do decent work. But this thing's mostly known for its competitive uses. So now on the opposite side of that coin is Porygon Z, and this thing is quite different than its pre-evolution. This thing has a 135 special attack stat, which is amazing. 90 speed means you're going to outspeed quite a few things, but the thing that this thing is mostly known for is its move pool. It has a wide array of moves that it can learn. It can learn Thunderbolt, Ice Beam, Solar Beam. Most people use it with Tri-Attack as a normal stab, but there's quite a few options that you could put on this thing to bring it as an in-game team Pokemon. And I feel like Porygon Z would actually be an amazing in-game team Pokemon if you need a specially offensive normal type. So now we're looking at the Pokemon that are Gen 4 Pokemon, but actually weren't in any of the Sinnoh dexes. And the first one's going to be Reggie Gigas. This Pokemon is probably not one that you'll be able to use in-game, but we'll talk about how it is competitively. Stats-wise, this thing has one of the most amazing stats. 160 attack, 110 HP defense and special defense, and a 100 speed, meaning it can do a lot of damage, it can take a lot of hits, and it has enough speed to outspeed quite a few things. However, there's one thing that actually holds this Pokemon back to make it not as over-the-top crazy as it would be with those stats, and that is the ability Slow Start. Slow Start basically has your stats until your Pokemon is in the game for 5 turns, and the stats that it has are attack and speed, which are the stats that you really want to use Reggie Gigas for if you're using it competitively. A lot of people in VGC will actually pair this with Pokemon that have abilities that eliminate other Pokemon's abilities, sort as Galarian Wheezing, and that's probably the only way that it can actually do a lot of work. This Pokemon is really difficult to use in competitive play because of how its ability has its stats, but I feel like it could actually do some work if you know what you're doing. So last off is the god Pokemon Arceus. This thing is an amazing Pokemon, and we're going to talk about it with the normal type video because this thing can actually be any type that you want it depending on what item it's holding. However, it is normally a normal type, so we're going to talk about it here. It has 120 stats across the board, which is an amazing stat distribution. That means you can basically run this thing as anything that you want. If you want a defensive Arceus, it will work. If you want an offensive Arceus, it will also work. This thing can pretty much do anything that you really need it to do. And with the ability to change its typing, it can be any typing that you need for your team if you use it competitively. However, this thing is very likely to be Uber. There's no way this thing's going to be in lower tiers, not even OU. So you're only going to see this thing in the Uber tier, but this thing is an amazing Pokemon. It will always do work in that tier. And you'll always find some sort of Arceus with a specific type popping up more than others. So that's all the normal types. Which one are you going to use? If you like this, give it a thumbs up, subscribe, and I will see you in the next Pokemon video.